So this is a little bit of a preview to Aguirre, the Wrath of God, which really is one of Werner Herzog's, I'd say, kind of masterpieces, filmed in 1972. If any of you are interested, you could look into the history of the filming of it and the tensions between Herzog and then the main actor Klaus Kinski. It's really fascinating. But in terms of the subject of the film, so Lope de Aguirre arrived in Peru in 1544, so not that long after Columbus. At this point, there was this really heightened effort to quote unquote discover, to colonize parts of the New World, basically divvying up what they imagined to be the riches of this area, the resources in terms of people, in terms of this kind of search for gold and goods. So Aguirre participated in this Spanish violent suppression of Indian rebellions. And then in 1560, he joined this expedition led by Pedro de Ursua to find this kind of mythical kingdom of El Dorado, right? It was thought to be somewhere along the Amazon. Now, El Dorado itself is an imaginary place based on a rumor that kind of was taken by a lot of the explorers and blown up to this extreme, right? So it was a rumor about this king in Colombia who painted himself in gold and was showered by his subjects in jewels, right? And it morphed into this big exotic fantasy of a city made of gold. And this searching for these monetary riches motivated these extreme and violence-laden expeditions, basically running over people and the natural world in search of something that really did not exist. So I want you to think about how this was the ultimate exoticization. I want you to think about how this was the ultimate exoticization, right? How this imaginary rumor ended up taking the lives of many people. So Aguirre himself was a really divisive figure and is not looked upon through history as a good person, right? He incited a rebellion against Ursua, who was killed. He then personally killed Fernando Guzman, who had succeeded him, and then took over this expedition, right? So he basically had people killed who opposed him. He even had priests put to death. It's even thought that he had his own daughter killed prior to when he was captured. He raided towns in Venezuela and eventually was caught and executed by the Spaniards. But he left this path of destruction. And the film is taking that and obviously taking a lot of creative license with it, but I think it's an excellent examination of madness and really is commentary on the madness of these conquistadors and explorers and how they were driven for, I'm not sure if it was power or desire for possessions or whatever it may have been. So I included some questions for you to think about during the film, and I put those up on Canvas as well. So how did the rumor of El Dorado harm the peoples of South America? How did this rumor build on othering and exoticizing to become a fixation and fantasy of conquistadors and explorers? What would it fulfill for them if it had been real? Why was Aguirre so driven to break out and form his own crew? How or why do you think he devolved into madness? What does his madness say about the insistence on colonizing? And how might the actions you see in the film, exhibited by Aguirre and his group, fulfill the othering narrative that was so often placed upon the people of Peru and the New World? And then after watching this, considering those things, please make sure to complete your journal and think of the parallels between the film, what you see in it, and the themes, and Columbus himself, and kind of devolving into madness.